10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello. Welcome to a Player's Perspective, a special edition today. Can't even talk, Ken. Look at that. Can't even talk, but it's a Player's Perspective. That's what this is right here. Georgia Tech Sports Talk, the best in Atlanta. Only place you can get it real live and direct from former players from the Georgia Tech program, letting you know what's happening in all of our sports, and particularly with our football program. And
there you go.
We are doing a special edition today at our 7:14 p.m. and hope all of you got that memo. And but we are doing that from Seven Springs Studio today, Ken.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Kim Jackson, the engineer behind the board. And it's just exciting to be back here, man, and getting this show started again.
Oh, yeah, it's real good. We are now 50 days away from 50 days away from Toe Meets Leather. And I tell you, I'm getting more and more excited each day. I kind of want to see some things happen. I can't wait till they do happen. I had a chance to talk to a lot of different people, and people are more optimistic about this season than they have been in the past. I think it's just because it's something new, something fresh.
Right.
We'll see. And, as we always say, we have to temper our expectations because, the national pundits and everybody is expecting us to be horrible. I'm just telling you the truth.
That's very true, brother.
We're supposed to finish last in the ACC.
Yeah.
We're supposed to, I think, finish 4-8 for the season.
Right.
Just things like that. All the doom and gloom. And I know Coach Collins he's done a great job from the onset of getting us prepared for the season.
Yeah.
And just changing the culture. And when we talk about changing the culture, we're not talking about changing the mindset of winning.
Right.
We're just talking about changing the attitude.
Yeah.
I think that, and the expectation level.
Yes.
I think there has been a heightened expectation level that has come along with this whole situation because he's coming with so much fanfare.
Yes,
and kind of just giving us the things that we have desired as a fan base, as far as getting us back to a national prominent level, as far as beating the drum and getting people's attention. Mm-hmm. Now we got to go out and play ball.
I think we got a lot of people's attention, Ken.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are paying attention to what's going on. I think a lot of people out there are just excited to see what we will bring to the table and what's going to be new, what's going to be the difference, and how Tech is going to present itself in a new age, 2019-2020 season, ACC Network. A whole lot of good stuff and new stuff is launching and kicking off. So make sure you'll go to your provider and make sure you get your ACC this fall so that you can watch and follow your Yellow Jackets. But, from Roddy Jones, a former football player, being out there and is going to be one of the commentators, one of the voices of the Yellow Jackets of the past with Wes Durham.
Right.
These guys have moved over to the ACC Network and are going to be commentating then and providing some perspective of their own to get out there and what's happening. But you're right, Ken. I mean, with 50 days, it's so much better than 100 days. It's so much better than 89 days. And, I mean, it's just that much closer to toe meeting leather and just guys getting out there and starting to stretch their legs and something that they're very excited about, which is that George Collins' new program, both on offensively, defensively, and just really, to me, a lot of it is mentally. Just a new way, like you talked about, a new way of thinking and going about doing some things out there this year on that football field. I hope you guys checked out Waffle House Wednesday.
I did.
Did you check it out?
I
hope you check it out. Did you see who was the coach on that?
Yeah, we
Ken, you got to be a little more excited about this now.
I was excited about the secondary coach, you know what I'm saying?
Well, Coach Weezenhand, tight ends coach, tights. What's up, Coach? That's right. The tight ends were featured today, baby.
Right.
And I love the way Roddy broke it down to the simple common denominator and allowing people to understand a little bit about tight ends and the fact they haven't been around here, but just to kind of introduce them back to the flats.
Right.
And the thing is that we got a couple of good ones that are going to be coming in the fall, so some support is on the way.
Yeah, support is on the way, and it's going to be a great addition,
Yep.
or I guess a re-edition to the
revised-
revised
a
edition,
revision or something like that, right?
to the thrown into the whole situation, because it was kind of discouraging looking out, seeing stuff, and we would see stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Because where we sit at,
Okay.
and we would see the if we had a tight end.
To exploit that middle, right?
He would be wide open right now.
Now that was something, man, that I didn't understand though too, Ken, which was the whole idea of the fact that why your wife would call you during your show and all that kind of stuff.
That's how they do.
That's how they do. But one thing though, Ken, we were talking about, because many years prior to last year, Coach Johnson used to exploit that middle. And we used to see 4 verticals, guys slipping out the backfield, getting up the middle of the seam.
Right.
And we saw us, kill a couple of defenses that way. We saw ourselves miss some opportunities there. But at the same time, that play and that area was utilized more. Why do you think he went away from that?
I don't know if it was just lack of confidence in the players he had,
Okay.
or if it was that he didn't feel that it was necessary anymore. It seems to me that as a offensive coach or as a coach period, you want to be able to use the talents that you have.
Exactly.
And a lot of times, and it's going to show forth in our wide receiver core, because I'm telling you, people are going to be so surprised,
Right.
and so shocked that these guys can actually run routes.
Yes,
that
they
they can actually catch the ball.
Right.
They can actually go across the middle. They can actually run the different routes and the whole route tree. The people are going to be really shocked that these guys can really do this stuff. And it makes no sense because we should have been using the talents that were there all along. But I understand that was Coach Johnson's system. That was what he decided to do, and it's just hard to sometimes get a grasp of what one coach does to what another coach does. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because sometimes
doesn't do.
Doesn't do. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
sometimes you get caught in your ways. You get caught in what you want to do best or what you think you do best, and that's what you stay with.
Right.
And we were a ground and pound team. And, because these kids that when they come to Georgia Tech or when they had come in the past, they've been able to throw the ball coming out of high school. They just didn't come, not throwing the ball.
Well, that was the thing. It was like, we all saw the tapes, we all
Right.
watched them play. And we talked about that here on the show. How does one just forget how to throw the ball? But I think that's going to be the telltale of what's going to happen, Ken, going forward.
Right.
I believe this coaching staff that we have is head and shoulders above what we previously had.
Well, and that's not taking any way or making
It's not a knock.
No, it's not a knock.
It's like you got a good coaching staff, but you just got a couple of that are just a notch better.
Yeah.
Just a couple of steps to better.
Yeah.
And in this situation, head and shoulders.
Yeah, and you're just not gonna let it rest, huh? I just, I'm like, I know our coaching staff is young, and one would think that would mean that they are inexperienced, but that's not necessarily the case. I think that it's a situation where you have some young men who's been around,
Yeah.
and who have been in this program and been through the fire,
Exactly.
and have went on to coach at different levels, and now bringing them back, at this time it's just the right time.
It's the right time.
It's the right move.
Well, Ken, it's got to be one of those things that as a former player, you are just, like you said, you even mentioned it. We're out of our minds right now, excited about what's going on. The start of the season can't be any sooner. I love getting in and watching some of this other stuff that's going on in addition to our show. A Player's Perspective coming to you on Facebook Live, coming to you on YouTube, coming to you on Spreaker out there. And if you guys have checked out the podcast on Spreaker, that was pretty darn awesome. I like that. But check us out in all those formats and get all of your Yellow Jacket news that you need. A guy told us at the last event over there at Georgia Tech, Ken, he said he needs some more podcasts.
He needs more podcasts.
He wants some more
Yeah.
He wants more podcasts, so we're gonna give you more podcasts out there. But Ken, I mean, hey, Coach Wiesenhand came on there and talked about some things. And what I love, Ken, and I'm stealing this, Coach. I'm telling you, I'm gonna give you credit for it every time, but I'm stealing it. It's gonna be something, Ken, we're gonna use here on the Player's Perspective. But it was the way that he described Georgia Tech. And he said that it's not a sell, it's what we do.
There you go.
And that's powerful.
That's
brother.
powerful, yeah.
That's the quote of the year, Coach. Right. That's the quote of the year. People want to know how you sell tech and man, how do you get people to understand what's going on over there, what you do, why they want to go to tech. Hey, man, we don't have to sell this thing.
Right.
It's what we do.
And that's kind of been proven in the way they recruit.
Yes.
Because not one time, and we've said this ad nauseum almost, not one time as Coach Collins mentioned the academics.
That's right.
Or how hard it is.
Right.
Or how hard it is to get guys to come over.
Right.
And because that hasn't been his the case since he started recruiting. He's got top level guys coming in, and it's only gonna get better, and it's only gonna get sweeter as the days go by. I can't wait to see this thing 2 or 3 years down the road.
Well, Ken, if people are paying attention to athletic director Todd Stansberry's podcast, the latest one that just came out talked about the academic success that's going on at Georgia Tech. And when you look at it, and me being a former academic counselor and director of academics of the football program, you tend to understand that with a great support system and people that have the knowledge and know-how of how to help these kids matriculate through, the success can be astounding. And one of the things that he talked about was that our graduation percentage, our grade point average percentage has actually bested those that were actually regular students at Georgia Tech.
Right.
So as an athletic program, you not only are finding quality individuals, but on the field, but also administratively that are able to come out there and work with these student athletes, getting them in the right position to be successful and getting them out there to do some great things. It was good to see Lucas Johnson in his internship this year, learning some things on the financial side.
There you go.
So these are things that we do at Tech, and that's kind of stuff that if you embrace it, Ken, if you understand it, Ken, which we now have people that know how to do that.
Right.
I think we're up to almost 8 or 9 guys that have former Tech experience and know-how and understanding from all levels, all the way back to our time going forward, that are able to talk to the fact that what we do is not something that we have to sell, but it's something that we actually do on an everyday basis.
And that's a beautiful statement, and it's a very true statement.
Yeah.
Because being at Georgia Tech and understanding the value of it, and knowing, I wish in my mind, not in my mind, but just in general, in general, I wish I could go back in time and really understand, knowing what I know now.
You sound like you singing right now.
Yeah, I feel like I want to sing.
Yeah, I'm telling you, brother, break it out. That sounds like some lyrics from a former song right there. But go on.
But I just wanted, I wish I could go back in time and really understand, with the understanding that I have now of what it meant to be at Georgia Tech.
Oh my God!
And what it really meant to be there during the times that we were there, how special it was, how great it feels, what it would mean to my future and all that good stuff. When you're young and you're 17, 18 years old, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees.
For the trees. Well, that was one of the things, Ken, that was a success principle that we had at Tech on the academic side, was that as a freshman, if I can get you to think like a junior, okay, if you can mature and step up and get that maturation process moving and understand that how important it is for your academics and things like that, if I can get you thinking like a junior, which normally comes around your junior year.
Yeah.
If I can, once I can get you as a freshman to kind of understand this thing, then pretty much your process through Tech is going to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be as difficult as it would be if you're coming with an immature attitude.
Yeah, that's true. And it makes it kind of hard. When we came in, I'm reflecting. I've been reflecting all week long for some reason about when I first got to Georgia Tech.
Gotcha.
And what things transpired, what you didn't know, who you didn't know,
Right.
what you thought you knew.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you get out and you run a 40 or you run whatever you're doing, or you go to practice with all the freshmen and you think you're doing okay.
Right.
Because you're amongst your peers and everybody's on the same level. And then all of a sudden, the upperclassmen come in and you're totally lost, because, and my thing was, we talked about it before the show. We were talking about communication in other realms of life. But that was the biggest difference that I had to learn coming from a high school setting into college, was the level of communication that went from, in high school, you just did stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You just made moves or you did whatever, and it was just because you were able to do it. Are you the biggest guy out there, or you were the fastest guy, or whatever? You didn't, the coach called a play, you ran the play. You did whatever. You didn't talk about what was happening during the play,
right?
Or where you're not able to necessarily tell somebody what happened to you while the play was going on.
Okay.
So from that was the biggest thing I think that I really had to learn how to communicate, because I remember being a freshman and we're back in cover 2 and I could see stuff in front of me happening, and then my coach is screaming and hollering at me. Say something. You got 10 other guys that are depending on you on what you see.
Exactly. You're the quarterback.
On
defense.
On defense, right, yeah. Right. And so I had to really get that down. And then Coach Prefer hollered at me so much that I would just get frustrated, because I wasn't used to anybody really hollering at me like that. I had to pull him. I was like, why you hollering? He said, because I want you to holler. You know what I'm saying? I want you to get loud. And so finally, toward the middle of my freshman year, I started to understand that this really does mean something.
Right.
And then out there, as a freshman, playing as a freshman, I was just trying to line up.
Well, it's a communication thing right now, Ken, so far as how I think we end up being and how well we end up playing this year. Right? How much are the upperclassmen communicating to the young guys right now? What's happening right now in this off-season workouts? What are we doing? But see, the thing is, Ken, right now, is we're seeing all the time on our Twitter and everything else, these kids are not alone.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? They have a coaching staff that's really leading these cats physically, mentally, preparing them and giving them food.
Right.
Every day.
Yeah.
For thought to help them to come through there.
Right.
If they haven't had leaders, they're building them.
Right. They're building leaders, and that's a statement within itself right there.
Oh my God.
And, that is happening. You can see that as if you're following our page, if you're following Georgia Tech Rambling the RamblingWreck.com and all that stuff, you can see the work that is going into this season.
Yeah.
And not just this season, but they're building blocks for other things that are about to come.
Right.
And we always talk about it. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Just the tip of the iceberg. So, I'm excited for it to jump off and for everything to come into fruition and for the things to really happen the way that we know that they can happen at Georgia Tech. I believe that Georgia Tech is going to be you're going to make it to a bowl game, going to be more successful than the 4-8 record than most people think.
Oh, absolutely. But then again, what's different? I think from the last 11 years, except for maybe 1 or 2 years, everybody's been predicting us to be at the bottom.
Right.
But the thing is, what that tells me, and with all due respect to them out there, they're just not that smart. That's really what it comes down to. Because seriously, insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Right.
So the safe thing for them is to just say that we're last.
Right.
And then we never end up being last.
Right.
But you keep saying we're going to be last.
Right.
I mean, because one, that's just a true testament to the talent that we've had coming through Tech and everything else, that whatever they were labeled as 2 stars, 3 stars, whatever, they basically went out there and played ball every Saturday. And they did things to win enough games to prevent themselves from being in last place. And for most of those seasons, Ken, in the battle for first place. If they were not first, they were second behind Virginia Tech, or somebody else. But at the same time, we were right up there in the top 3. And these are things that people, for whatever reason, are not understanding, or not pulling together and putting 2 and 2 together. Now you got a coaching staff that, okay, you may want to say that you don't have much tape on them or video or experience, but what's so hard to see that when you walk out on a practice? When you actually, if you talk to some of them, to actually see what they've been doing and how they've been doing it. A good coach can come out of Nowhere USA University.
Right.
Okay? Because he's been coaching his behind off. Just because he didn't have Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Auburn, or Alabama behind on his resume doesn't mean that he's not a good coach. And then these guys are coming into this play and they're doing it together, and they're coming in with one message, energized and excited, and they're imparting this lessons and everything into these guys. We are looking at not only talent being abound this year and presenting itself. I mean, you already can see the transition with Jalen Camp, okay, running his routes with a lot of these guys, the excitement with Malachi Carter and everything coming aboard and things. These guys are now maturing in a way that they had hoped to as wide receivers, and doing some things that are coming about for them for the passing game. You're going to see some good stuff out of them. And to speak of Jalen and David Curry, they're going to be representing us at Media Day next Thursday, July 18th. ACC Media Days will be kicking off. And that's exciting too, because usually when that kicks off, brother,
that's when it's getting
that's
real.
the sign. That's the sign.
That's the sign right
It may
there.
not be toe meets leather, but it is pen meets paper.
Yeah, you go. It is a sign that things are stirring and things are moving, and the trains is on the track at that point. You know what I'm saying? And the season is about to begin and about to happen, and everything's about to be on fire, as the young people say. It's about to be lit.
It's about to be lit. Speaking of lit, we're going to be doing some more basketball analysis, and we had hoped to have James Mullen in the studio today. A little emergency has deterred him, and we're going to have to reschedule to get him back up in here.
Right.
We got Thomas Barkham going to be coming, so we've got that happening. And then you're going to actually have him coming on later on, okay, to do some things with that, and then just starting that steamroll into the season.
Right.
We're going to be bringing one person after another, introducing new things, better things with Georgia Tech on here at a player's perspective. That's Seven Springs Studio right here in Powder Springs. But yeah, James, we missed you today, brother. We had a lot of stuff that we had prepared to speak with you and go over with, and a lot of good stories, man, that we're going to hear from you. But we're excited about the fact that it is to come, and we'll make it happen. But glad to have Scott. He's on here, and Francine Brooks, and who else we got checking us out today?
I saw Joe Ham out there.
Big Joe Ham. Big Joe Ham. Now, I was listening to Joe Ham the other day. Now Joe Ham's out there on 106.3 Sports X. He and Home Team doing their thing out there. And they were talking about some Georgia Tech stuff on there. And one of the things that they brought up, Ken, was with Georgia, okay, what could possibly happen to Georgia that would be an absolute nightmare for them this year, based upon all the hype that's surrounding their program and where they're going to be going forward.
Oh, to take a L from Georgia Tech, exactly.
That's the big one. That's a big one. That ain't the best, though. I'm going to hit you with the best one. And because Joe Ham and I were discussing that one, right? And but yeah, a lot of stuff came on there. But taking an L from Tech. What else? What else you think would be?
You know, I'm not sure which way we're going with this.
So I mean, the other thing that they were looking at was them not winning the SEC.
Yeah.
Them not making the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Them losing for a third time in a row to Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay. And everything else. But we dropped the bomb on them. And that bomb was Tech wins its 5th title before Georgia wins its 3rd.
Yeah. And now that would be shocking.
Our engineer was supposed to have that explosive, graphic come up right there, but he missed that cue. But yeah,
that would be real. That would be real shock. That would be real shocking. I don't know if I think I do believe this. I do believe that if Alabama beats Georgia again for the 3rd time, especially when 2 times back to back Georgia has had the game, kind of in a way that should have been that they should have won.
Right.
In the national championship game, they should have won that game.
Yeah.
I'm a Georgia diehard hater.
Right.
I don't want Georgia to win anything.
Right.
But for 2 weeks before that game, I talked about how I wanted Georgia to be right at the precipice, at the door of winning a championship, and then have it snatched back from them.
Woo!
And it was almost, and it was very prophetic in what I was saying. I didn't know I was saying it at the time, but I tell you what,
you didn't know you were a prophet.
I know I'm a prophet.
Oh, okay, all right, come on, baby, preach now.
But I didn't know that at the moment that it was going to go down the way it went down. I was just talking junk for a long time. Then when it went down, I was cheering like I was from Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
And then you look back at last year, that game last year, there's no way Alabama's supposed to win that ball.
Right.
I mean, really, the coaching gaffe, call it what you want to call it, but you got a 4th and 1, your defense is balling, punt the ball. Let's play defense. Let's get our guys to get the ball back and let's go win it by field goal or do whatever. They don't do that. They try a fake and then the rest is history. They leave a short field for Jalen Hurts to go down and hurt them.
Yeah.
So
well, there's so many facets to a game.
Right. Yeah.
And people don't understand. It's just not the talent on the field, but from the coaching aspect, the decision making that you make, the execution, your special teams, whether you're kicking them through the uprights or you're missing them to the left or right. These are things that are going on that all impact what's going on. And of course, like you said, to watch them snatch, defeat out of the jaws of victory. It was one thing that, of course, for us as a Tech fans, that was very satisfying.
Yeah.
But you do understand that, programs are working and they're getting better and everything else. But at the same time, for Georgia Tech, that's where we are.
Right.
We're starting to get better, and we're probably at the elementary stage. I don't know, and none of us really know. But if we're looking at it just on paper, or like most people would, you would just say that we're babies right now on the verge of explosion, and just because of what we have, the roadmap, the schematics, the architect of it all, these things all look good going forward. And now all we got to do is put the pieces in the puzzle together and make that happen.
And that's what I'm interested in most to see, because we know Coach Collins is a heck of a recruiter. We know that he's done some great things as far as getting energy into the program and getting that part of the situation going.
Right.
It's almost like I always say, he had a if I get a Georgia Tech job starter kit going, and he unrolled it out. He took it out and threw it down on the ground, and it just started deploying all these different ideas and all these different things that has been just awesome.
Right.
My concern, or maybe not shouldn't be a concern, but my thought process is, okay, how does this guy coach? How is he in game?
Right.
How is he? We've been at practices and we see how he is at a practice.
Right.
And he's. If you've never been there, he's quite good at practice.
Yes, he is.
But in game, I want to see the in game Geoff Collins.
Right.
I want to see the decision making Geoff Collins. I want to see the tough, when you got to make those tough calls and those tough moments to go on 4th down. How does he manage the ball game? How does he manage time? How does he do all of these different things that are all, as you said before, all facets of the ball game?
That's right.
Because it's just not X's and O's,
That's
and
right.
it's all not Jimmy's and Joe's.
Jimmy's and Joe's, right.
But it's got to be coaching. It has to be on par as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we always say this: coaching matters.
That's true. Very true.
Coaching matters. So
yeah, coaching matters all the time, and like you're saying, because if you're looking at kind of where he is on the recruiting trail, the marketing trail, and everything, and the recruiting trail, everybody speaks to the gift that he has right now of being 2 steps ahead of everyone else.
Right.
And then of course going into this season and doing what we do, the ultimate, surprise right now for a lot of people are going to be they're not going to know what to expect. They don't have film on Georgia Tech right now.
Right.
They don't know what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. But of course, when you're attacking, and that's something that he talks about all the time, especially on defense, as being attack.
Right.
To be relentless in that, to get your whole 125 guys on the same page with you, to be that relentless going after things, it's going to be a struggle all season to really totally understand who this Tech team is and what they can do.
Right.
Because if you match the excitement, preparation, the new attitude,
right,
with W's, okay, how contagious and how influential that can be.
Right.
When you start winning with the things that you use, you can't lose with the stuff I use. You remember old Ribbon Flake like that? Okay, and that brother was excited about a cloth or some water or whatever it was. But at the same time, what Tech's going to be excited about is lining up on Saturdays with a newfound energy. And if what they use works, man, you're just talking about the sky's the limit. Sky's the limit.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's the whole thing, that we've got to get all that stuff to match up.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And if it does mesh, and if it's the marriage has been good so far.
Right.
If we start winning or go on a little streak or anything like that, Atlanta is going to explode.
Right.
Because this has been the beautiful thing that's happening. Even with us being able to play over at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium and all that those different things that are going to take place.
Yes.
That is going to that just endears the city to Georgia Tech. It makes the city synonymous with Georgia Tech. So when you think of Georgia Tech, you'll start thinking of Atlanta. When you think of Atlanta, you'll start thinking of Georgia Tech, as vice versa. As before, you didn't think of that too much.
That's right.
Well, you didn't think about Georgia Tech. When you thought about Atlanta, you thought about other stuff.
You thought about other stuff. That's true. Except for us, we always
thought of Tech. But,
absolutely.
But if you're not from here, I mean, we have had to get it back to the thought process is,
Yeah.
Georgia Tech is in
you're
Atlanta.
going to Atlanta? that's what Georgia Tech is.
Right,
yeah, exactly. You got to have that. That's marketing. That's branding. That's coming together with a program that's world renowned and focused. If you look at, say, in the world or in the globe, so far as people saying, where are some of the top engineers coming from? Where are the top minds being created? Georgia Tech's going to be in that conversation.
Right.
And those are the things that we're going to pull together and make synonymous with not only the academics, but also with the athletics. Now, a lot of guys are doing some great things. You saw did you see any of the All-Star game last night?
I saw a little bit of it, yes.
Okay, so you saw my man Blackman, right?
Yeah, there you
Big
go.
Blackman, Georgia Tech project.
There you go.
Okay, got the first home run in the score of the day.
Right.
So we still doing great things out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So shout out to Georgia Tech student athlete for life, a member of for life. We're giving you that Hive love right now and showing out to you. So a great game for you, even though they came up short, 4-3. But it's something, and it's great to see Georgia Tech people do well. And a lot of Georgia Tech people are doing well, and they're doing that on a world based on the global stage. And that's something that we don't have to sell.
Right.
That's something that we are already doing.
Right.
And so those are the things that we are good about, and that's who we are. That's just who we are. Now, one of the things you talked about, Ken, was the Mercedes-Benz, and that was something we were going to talk about on a different format tonight. But for something that would kind of piggyback on that. Tech played basketball back in the day at the Omni.
Right.
And that Georgia Tech game was on a neutral playing site, and it was a big deal. Okay. Georgia plays Florida at a neutral site. We've got this one where we'll play different opponents.
Right.
But would you like to see something like this with just one other team? Somebody that we always play on a neutral field like that?
Yeah, I'd like for it to be. Heck, I'd like for it to be. It would be good to be Georgia or something like somebody like that. For the simple fact that I know it would be a Georgia fest at that point.
Right.
But if you split the tickets half and half, and you do all that stuff, then it'd be a little bit where everything is great, and that would be great. I'd like to see that us play Georgia in that setting.
Because the interesting fact was that Coach Durham at the time for Georgia, he brought up the idea, but then they also asked to rescind that contract and come out of that contract because Tech was dominating.
Right.
So it didn't look good for them on the national stage, which really speaks to why the Thriller Dome was the Thriller Dome.
Right, exactly.
When you start thinking about ways of bringing that recruiting and everything else out there. So to have a stage like that and to compete well on that and to sell your program, okay, and to put those things out there, do you think like something like that would be beneficial? And do you think we should keep it the way it is, with the different teams? Or constantly maybe mix it up, maybe even with a one thing I was thinking about was that you just keep it in our SEC matchup.
Right. Now that would be something that would be great because that would give them exposure as well as us, and then you're going against one of the most powerful conferences in the country. So
right.
So that would be a good, depending on the matchup, depending on the teams or whatever. I mean, I liked it a couple of years ago when we actually played against Tennessee. I thought that was a great way to open the season up.
Right.
It was just you and I had a chance to be there.
Yeah.
So it was just a great opportunity and a great time. Because you don't realize how vast the stadium is. You don't realize how good a game looks inside of there until you're in there and actually watching it and seeing it.
And until your good friend of mine, Drew Benjamin, a big old Tech Tennessee fan, wants to constantly remind me of the fact that we lost that thing in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but y'all gave up 600 yards to a Russian offense. I have a friend. His name is Miles Tyson. Shout out Miles.
Yep.
But he is a true Tennessee fan, and he has not let me forget that they won. I said, yeah, but you took 600. I don't know how many times people rush for 600 yards.
You took a beating in the process.
There you
That's
go.
for sure. But I'm looking for us to come out victorious going down the line now when we actually come out there and perform like that. Because, we can't lose games like that.
Right, yeah.
We can't lose games like that, and that kind of stuff has got to be in the past for what's going on out there. Shout out to us through Facebook. If you guys want a question or got a question that you want to ask, we're Facebook Live. We shout out to Eric Billingsley, E-Bill out there. And everybody else that's checking us out tonight here on A Player's Perspective, Wednesday nights, live and direct, coming to you on YouTube, Facebook, Spreaker. We getting out there, baby.
There you
we
go.
Out there. Instagram, and maybe even Instagram.
Yeah,
We're doing
you go.
some Instagram out there too, right, Kim?
Right.
All right. So hey, we trying to make sure that guys don't have any excuses and at all to get what you want this so far as what we bringing to you here on A Player's Perspective. But yeah, Ken, it's amazing how fast time is flying.
Yep.
Because even this show seems to come up just super fast. We say goodbye and then we're saying hello again, and that just means another Wednesday has come around.
Another Wednesday's come around.
So another week. Some people told us when we got older, time was going to fly.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was going to be this soon.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it is. You look up and it's July the 10th right now.
Yeah.
It almost seems like I can still hear the doggone bottle rockets and stuff going off for New Year's.
Right.
Well, maybe it was because it was just 4th of July last week. I don't know. You know,
Right.
it just seems like, you know, I said that to say, you know, the new year is just seem like it just got here.
Well, I mean, I can remember last year's 4th of July like that.
Right.
And we were up in Tennessee, and my mom, a nice up there, and they had a beautiful fireworks display down there. And got a chance this year to check it out down in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
I went down there and was trying to make a couple of Bulldog fans feel bad while we were down there, so that was fun too. And it was nice. I met this guy, right? He was, his kids were swimming in the pool, you know, and he had his Georgia shirt on, and so my wife went up to him and said, "Hey man, you dropped your tea," and he was like, "Huh?" She said, "You dropped your tea," and he was like, "Huh?" You know, Georgia fans. So, but basically, he said, "Look at your shirt," and she said, "You know, the tea fell off." He's like, "Oh man," he said, "Y'all gonna have to come get that tea. You have to come get that tea." So we laughed about it, and then afterwards, my wife and I were talking, and we was like, "Man, I got a couple of comebacks I should have had for him at that time." And she said, "I was thinking about one too." She said, "I started to tell him, I said, there's no tea in Georgia." But the other thing was that, you know, T stands for titles, baby.
There you go.
And we don't chase wins, we chase titles.
There you go.
And so therefore that's what it means to be Georgia Tech right now, baby. We go on for that 5th.
Hey, for the 5th.
You know, we got to make that thing happen.
Yeah, and I believe it will happen.
Yeah.
I think we've got the right guy at the right time, at the right moment, to push us back into that stratosphere of playing with the elite.
That's it.
So that's what we want. That's what we want. For a long time, I think a lot of times people ask the question, well, what does Georgia Tech want to be?
Right.
You know, and when it comes down to their athletics, when it comes down to the football program or whatever, what does Georgia Tech really want to be? Do they want to be competing every year for championships, or do they want to just be good enough to go to a bowl game and suffice the the alumni base and all that good stuff? But I believe in Coach Collins, we have a guy that's hungry, and that will push us to the next level where we need to be, and where championships are at a premium.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. Well, speaking of hungry, we had the baseball team wrapped it up really nicely this year. We had the tennis team, the women's tennis team didn't quite get there as far as they wanted to last year, but they're looking at doing some things and bringing on a couple of good talent this year coming up, and some of the great talent moving on to move even further in this upcoming season. But even on the basketball scene, looks like that we're starting to get a couple of good recruits in that may be able to help us out next year. And so we definitely want to bring more coverage on that for you guys coming up this year about that, and see what's going on and make that happen. And for all of the sports, Ken, we're going to represent all of them, and we're going to get that out there for everybody to witness, understand, and see what's going on, because you got to know that what Coach Collins is doing down there has got to be infectious.
You know, I believe it is. It's hard for it not to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know if I was coaching in another sport and I see all of this buzz going around your football program, you know, some of this you got to want some of that.
You got to have
you got to want, if you got any competitive juices in you, you got to want a little taste of that. You got to want that. And heck, you got to want, at any major school, you want your football program to be exciting and people coming out to see it and all that good stuff. Why? Yeah. Because the football program is the breadwinner most of the time.
That is.
It's the breadwinner most of the time.
Well,
so,
you got people coming to Tech to see a football game. Then that's going to want them to come down there and see about the beautiful McCamish Stadium down there, the court down there, Bobby Crimmins Court. There's really no place better in Atlanta to come see a basketball game.
Right.
And then so for people to do that, and then to look at the success that they had on the Diamond and the beautiful facility that we got over there with baseball, you want to come over there and check them out too.
Right.
And the women's softball, they're right there on campus, one of the nice softball stadiums tucked right in there. You know, those are things that people want to be part of. And then that volleyball program has shown up year after year with successful play. And so we're looking for that to kind of spread and us have a lot to talk about, a lot of success going on the flats and making that happen. and everything out there. Anything else people talking to you about these days, Ken?
I mean, mostly, it's crazy. I had Cleve Pounds come into my store the other day, and I had a chance to, kind of chop it up with him a little bit.
Shout out to Cleve.
And he was talking about how excited he was. He's like, I wasn't going to renew my tickets and this, that, and the third, and all of a sudden, this kind of happened, and I had to hurry up and put my bid in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, it was just one of those things. Cleve was one of the guys. I always tell him every time I see him, he was one of the guys that played along with my cousin. And, I always loved his name.
Right.
Cleve Pounds.
Right.
I mean, what kind of...
Yeah, that's pretty original,
That's
brother.
pretty original.
That's pretty original.
I mean, and, when you think about a football player is supposed to be pounding something. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So,
right. That's right.
So it's just one of those things when I had a chance to talk to him, and he was telling me about his excitement. And it's funny how you see it from every level. Everybody that's been a part of Georgia Tech,
Right.
when we talk to them now, the level of excitement,
Yeah.
the level of engagement,
Right.
the level of, just trying to be around the program now, everything's changed. And I think that change came, specifically when Coach Collins came and kind of opened his arms up and said, "Hey guys, we want you here."
Right.
That's
right.
And that's a different feeling.
It is
a different feeling.
It's an exciting feeling because everybody wants to be welcome home.
Right.
Nobody wants to think that you don't have a home to go to. And right now, people out there, especially our student athletes, former letter winners and everything else, are excited about coming home and checking out Georgia Tech football. So make sure you get those season tickets. Make sure you wrap that up and get that stuff going out there. And then, hey, this whole kickoff of the with Clemson coming up. Now we play them in Clemson this year.
Right.
And so I'm sure everybody's going to be excited about that. They are the reigning national champions. They've lost a lot on defense, but they feel like they've got some players that can step up and do some things.
Right.
And it's going to be a home game for Clemson, and it's going to be the launching of the ACC network for football. The network will come out and start about a week earlier, but that's their official launch for what they have. So everything, the stage is set.
The stage is set.
And I'll tell you, it's fun playing over there
Oh man.
in Death Valley. And
man.
Oh my goodness. So it's the excitement and the energy is going to be in effect. But I think we're going to see a little bit more white and gold out there, though.
Yeah, I believe so. I think people are very excited about getting over there, getting to the game.
Right.
I don't necessarily like going to games, away games like that. I like being able to sit in the comfort of my home.
Yeah, I got you.
and kind of watch a game, and I don't have to worry about driving anywhere afterwards or doing anything else.
Right.
so I like it from that standpoint. But we will be there.
Yes,
we will be watching.
Absolutely.
And we will see exactly what's going on with it, because I believe Georgia Tech has as good a chance as anybody of causing some disturbance.
Now, and it's interesting you brought that up too. So far as where you view things and everything else, because we've seen people and talked to people who have decided this year that they're going to want to be in the house.
Right.
They want to be there live, and be able to touch it, feel it, and everything else. And then they're also talking about the game day experience and how they're going to make it and how it's going to be something that you can embrace and do that. You got a great sample of it at the spring game this year. That was just exciting, brother. Your head was on the swivel, kid.
Yeah,
you couldn't see it all.
You couldn't see it all, man. It was crazy because, we were not expecting that many people to show up.
Right.
I thought that's okay. Maybe it might
We
be.
told them to show up, and they came.
And they came. I was thinking maybe 10,000 will show up. Or something like that. Maybe a small number, but 22,000 on a Friday evening.
Right.
to show up in Atlanta traffic.
That's it.
That tells me that Saturdays are going to be crazy.
They're going to be
Thursday
crazy.
nights are going to be crazy.
Yes, they are.
So and I can't wait for that experience to come and for those things to start happening and for us to be able to take part in it.
Well, each one bring one, Ken, is
There you go.
the message, and of course we understand that once that happens, brother, that's a sold out stadium.
That's it.
Of nothing but white and gold.
There you
and
go.
That's something that we've been urging and asking about and pleading with people to do. Because we're looking at making that white and gold large and represented, and that visiting team, whatever their colors are, very small and underrepresented.
There you go.
And that's what we're looking to make happen. Shout out to Mark joining and watching in on us. Like my beautiful wife, she's out there working with people, teaching them how to sing.
How to sing?
How to sing.
How to what now?
How to sing.
Sing.
Yeah, that's not just singing.
Okay. The singing.
Yeah, that's when you really sing.
Oh, that's when they got the vibrato and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So they gotta sing.
Okay.
But she's over there taking care of that, and her mom down in Americus, Georgia. Shout out to Americus, Georgia, who has put out quite a few Georgia Tech products out there.
Yes.
Shout out to All Pro and All American Kent Hill.
There you go.
And then Mackle Harris. Remember
Yeah.
Mackle Harris?
Mm-hmm.
And then my man out there that I was able to really gravitate to as a leader and as a person, Malcolm King.
Mm-hmm.
It was a short-lived because he was a senior when I started.
Right.
But a humble individual, man, but a classy individual, and just love to kind of watch him work and do the things he did. But another America's product. And then, of course, Coach, what's his name?
Chan Gaten. That's
Chan Gaten, yeah. With Coach Chan out there. And then and I got to give a shout out to Coach Reeves because he was looking at me for the pros, for the Denver Broncos. So he sent me a nice letter and let me know that he was going to be watching my career and that kind of thing. So, I got to put him on the board, too, out there. But it was one thing to see, and then, that AME, baby, I see you. But there's a lot of, that's a small town, Ken, in central Georgia, close to Plains,
there you go.
where President Carter's from.
Right.
But not people know too much about it, but it's a nice little small spot that produces a lot of great talent out of there, though.
America, stand up, baby.
Exactly. And my wife would say, Amaricus. Amaricus, stand up. That's right. So shout out down there and to my mother-in-law. Hello, mama. Hope y'all all doing well. But brother, talent is about all over the place in Georgia. But one thing, Ken, I always talked about, though, is that, I think it's important not only to really get and seek out the great talent in Georgia, but you got to mix it up. You got to get out there and find that great talent nationally.
Yeah.
And to put that together. And I think a lot of teams that haven't done that as well tend to suffer.
Yeah.
And those that really get a good balance out there with that and find some guys to mix it up, they do pretty well.
You're right about that. You got to have that. Everybody kind of has their where we'll recruit here, we recruit there, we won't recruit over here.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has that the boundary that they try to go after, unless you are a team like an Alabama or like a Georgia or like or like a Clemson that can, that's recruiting nationally just because they are who they are.
Now, does that have a lot to do with just your ignorance or your lack of desire, or does that have a lot to do with budgets?
A lot to do with budgets.
Yeah,
I think a lot of that has to do with budgets. You can't recruit everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't go everywhere. I remember being recruited by the University of Hawaii, but their stipulation was you got to be almost pretty much committed
to come out
here before you can't just come on an official visit over here. You know what I'm saying?
Terry Donahue said the same thing to me out there in UCLA.
Yeah.
I was sitting there like, man, I really want to
and the UCLA was the same way. I was being recruited by UCLA.
Yeah.
Coach Donahue came to the school. We had talked and and I was, it was real. I mean, I was really thinking about going, and I was like, man, my mom can't come to the game.
Right.
This and the third. I'm not going out
I
there.
ain't going out
And I said, y'all, Coach, I love y'all, but no.
But like we say, the older you get, the more wisdom you get.
Yeah.
I should have gone on out there.
You wouldn't have been a champion though.
Ooh, no, I'm not talking about the school.
Oh, I know.
Just take the visit.
The
Just take the
visit.
visit. Yeah, buddy. I was like, man, when I made my decision on tech, it was 100%. Because it had a lot to do with the coaches and everything else and what was going on and location. But when you kind of growing up, these are teams you saw on TV and all that kind of stuff, and you just wanted to kind of get out there and see the what was the West Coast like.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? What was that all going on? What's LA about? You know, you superstars, Hollywood, all that good stuff. But I want to see what LA was like.
Right.
And but when I sat down and thought about, just like with you, I said, man, none of my folks would be able to get out there. What's going on? I was like, Coach, I'm not even gonna lie.
There you go.
I ain't
There you
gonna
go.
come out there. But if it was today, I'd have been on that
You
plane.
might be on the
I've been
plane,
on- Speaking of that, Cam, did you get any money on 285 yesterday?
No, I didn't get any money. Unfortunately, I was not.
Kim, you didn't get any money?
I didn't. I wasn't able to get involved in that situation, and that puts us at a sometime at a moral dilemma, I guess.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "What would Jesus
What
do?
would Jesus?
What would Tommy do?" You know, I'm like,
Jesus. Well, I ain't even gonna say that. I ain't gonna play.
He opened up the gates and he allowed the money to flow.
To flow. You know what I'm saying? Because he wanted me to have
that.
because so I can share it with all my bill collectors and just pay my bills. That's what it is.
If you got some money out there,
I wasn't gonna hoard it, Ken. I was
return
gonna give
it.
it to
Return
people.
it. Do the right thing.
That's what they
As
say.
Spike Lee said.
Well, they say
Do the
coming
right
off
thing.
of the armored truck is basically like stealing it from the bank.
Well, I don't know.
You know, they say-
first of all, I have several questions.
Yeah.
When they take this money in,
Yeah.
they don't take it in loose.
That's right.
So I'm trying to figure out what was happening in the back of that van.
Part of the investigation is why was the money loose. Now I worked for a depository trust company when I was younger, coming out of New York, and I was in a facility that had $3.3 trillion in it at one time, and they were very tight
Yes.
about who worked there, what they saw, what they touched, what they did. And they had several people checking when you clamp stuff and you secure it and you tie it and you roll it a sucker out. So for that to be loose, now some people might say, see, that can only be God.
No.
God loosed that thing.
God don't work like that. Or maybe he does.
We don't know the circumstances.
We don't know the
everybody
circumstances. We don't know the circumstances.
Those people may have been. They said every one of them prayed that morning. God, show me
the way
to that $1,100.
I said, got a light bill due.
Got a light bill.
Baby need a new pair of shoes.
Got
Lord have
to
mercy.
have some dinner on the table tonight, Lord. What am I gonna do? And man, I tell you what, that's crazy. I mean, it's happened though several times. I kind of looked that up, and a couple of situations have happened in the past, and I think one just last year up in Indiana area or something of that nature. But people are just losing money, and out there now on the interstate. You know, that's kind of
it was kind
of demonic.
That was weird. That was weird to see people pull over and actually out there risking life and limb trying to get the money up.
But you know, at the same time, man, that might just been a little payback for just the stress that people got to go through in Atlanta, sitting in all that Atlanta traffic. You know, give them something. So they're working on a compensation program
already.
Because you live in Atlanta, got to sit in traffic. We're going to reward you and compensate you.
I got to ask you this, Tommy. I know the time is getting down, but so do you turn the money back in?
Absolutely.
Huh?
Absolutely
not.
I think I'm just gonna leave it so.
See what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna turn 1,000 in.
Yeah.
But the 10,000 that I got at the house, I'm not gonna say nothing about that. But I'm gonna give about 2 or 3 to my church.
Okay, there you go.
I'm just joking.
But my thing is, I was doing a service. That money was out there, and I collected it. I made sure it did not get lost.
Didn't get lost. Okay.
Okay, so now you know where it is.
That's
Now,
one way to look at
If
it.
everybody just kept driving, where would the money be right now?
It would be scattered abroad.
Torn up and everything, stuck to tires
There you
and
go.
gum and oil, and those people were providing a service, Ken.
Okay, all right, then.
And so therefore there's got to be some consequences and repercussions.
Yeah,
and
if you don't turn that money in, it's gonna be some consequences and repercussions.
So if you picked up the money out there, man, listen, turn the money in. If you need to, come see me, give it to me. I'll make sure that it gets to where it needs to be.
There you go. I'll pray. We'll pray about it.
Well, thank y'all so much for joining us, man. I tell you what, yeah, I'm just serious about that. I know that's right, baby. But thank y'all for tuning in with us for A Player's Perspective. Another week, another exciting episode here at Seven Springs Studio. Kim Jackson, engineer behind the board. My awesome All-American to my right, Ken Swilling. And for me, T-Cub. All GT lovers, and we're ready to get this thing out and get this thing started.
Yes.
And so if you all can come holler at us, check us out on our page, like us on our page. Ken, we got a new milestone on the page.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah,
I see.
over 800.
Yeah, we over 800.
Over 800 and climbing.
Climbing to the top.
Climbing to the
Climbing
top,
to
baby.
the top of the mountain. Help us to get to the top of the
You
mountain.
know, and
baby.
there's a thing called critical mass.
There you go.
Once you hit that critical mass, brother, it just goes crazy. You can't
Okay.
control it.
Okay.
Can't reel this thing in.
Can't reel it in. Okay.
Okay, so we ready for it.
Oh, I'm ready for it to happen.
We need to make that thing happen.
There you go. There you
Spread
go.
the news, spread the love. Hive Love Jackets for Life. See y'all next week, y'all. Peace.
Peace.